Let's talk about Christy, directed by David Michôd. The title role is played by Sydney Sweeney and chronicles her life from a high school basketball player through her career as a professional boxer, during which she married her trainer. The film tells the ups and downs this woman went through in what seems to be Sydney Sweeney's pitch for an Oscar. And now, after seeing the film, I can say that Sydney Sweeney gives an unbelievable performance. It isn't just her character performance I have to praise, but I have to praise her physicality and the people responsible for things like her costume design and whoever helped her develop the demeanor she has in the film. There are many fight scenes and training scenes, and I never thought I was watching a Hollywood actress play fighting. She looked in great shape with this role, and seemed like she could kick the crap out of almost everyone she was fighting. I also have to praise how this movie does not objectify Sydney Sweeney in any way. We all know she is one of the most beautiful women physically in movies today, but with her haircut in this film, the outfit she wears, and the way she presents herself, I didn't realize I was watching Sydney Sweeney within the first 5 minutes of the movie. Now, I do have some issues with this picture, but not a single one of them has to do with this performance. There's a sequence where she is sitting in a restaurant just completely drained, and I was fully absorbed with what was happening to this woman. I should back up. When Christy meets her boxing trainer, also amazingly played by Ben Foster, he disregards her at first, and doesn't even believe in women's boxing to be a lucrative thing. After she begins to prove herself, though, they begin seeing each other. Then they are married. The film bounces in time frames from the mid-90s to the mid-2000s and the early 2010s, and we are catching up with what is up with that couple at various times. I didn't like that the time jumps were kind of sudden, like when she begins becoming this dominating figure in the sport, and her face is on cereal boxes and stuff, or she sparks a friendship with a rival boxer, and we catch up with her 5 years later for some reason. I would have liked to have seen the growing of that relationship, especially when the end credits explain the fate of both women. I think seeing that dynamic grow more between them instead of being frenemies for most of the time would have given more reaction to the things that happened at the end. Basically what I'm saying is that this picture has a strong but very inconsistent first half and an incredible second half that I loved so much I might call that last hour alone one of my favorite movie experiences of the year. The second half is almost entirely about the domestic issues between Christy and her husband. The first half has a few too many fights in it, and while they are wonderfully shot, and I like seeing her succeeding as a boxer, I think putting more emphasis on that over the relationship building made me not care about it as much at first. For example, she has a girlfriend at the beginning of the film, and her parents do not like this idea one bit. This woman she was dating pops up sporadically in the film to be kind of her shoulder, I guess, but she isn't in it enough for the two women to build a bond that I cared more about. And since the mother of our heroine hates this woman for her sexuality, that made the mother unfortunately one note. I hated her bigotry, don't get me wrong, but it is spread out too infrequently for it to have as much weight when there's a culmination near the end. I think the feelings of being closeted should have been explored more, so we would have cared more about her pragmatic marriage. I also think that the relationship between the husband and wife at the beginning doesn't happen organically enough. We see his infatuation with her and his controlling behavior pretty early on. As I said, it is an amazing performance, but up until there was about a fight about an hour and 5 minutes in, which is when I became fully invested in this picture, before that I felt the film hopped between too many plot threads and didn't give them time to grow more than they could have. I wanted to know Christy's mindset about all the things that were happening in her life. We never really see what she thinks about being married to her trainer, and unless you know the story of the real person, which, to be honest, I did not know much about before seeing this, the script doesn't allow Sydney Sweeney to express us her feelings about any of the stuff happening in her life besides her boxing career. She is one note in her mentality until midway through. That's not the fault of the performance, though. I just would have liked to have known how everything was affecting her instead of her just letting it all happen. Once those issues are ironed out, we get such a strong second half where every single actor in this film gives it their all. The music wasn't distracting in any way and worked in ways it needed to. I didn't feel pampered to with being told how I should feel. I just saw a great performance and allowed it to guide me as I'm seeing her drive her pink car. Which leads me to my only other issue with the film. She becomes a big star and makes a great amount of money. She even opens her own gym. I would have liked to have seen how she handled all of that success, and maybe even had it add to the terrible things her husband does. I don't know the true story all the way through, but I'm sure he did scummy stuff during that time as well. Once the domestic culmination happens, we get some amazing scenes at a restaurant and one at their home that is just plain powerful, poignant, and everything about that 25-minute span is pure filmmaking to me. I see that early reviews of the film are a little divided, and some think it is scattered and doesn't fully form. I only agree with that sentiment for the first 45 minutes or so. Once we are past that, though, the film had me gripped until the end credits. I truly believe Sydney Sweeney should get an Oscar nomination for this picture, but she won't because of current controversies. But I don't care about any of that. I just like seeing good performances in the movies that I watch. And she is just pure gold in this film as Christy. I obviously recommend this movie. It's probably the best biopic I've seen since Better Man. It's too much of a sports drama for a little too long, but once it settles fully in and starts showing you what it is really about, it is a very good look into a relationship that was doomed to fail from the start. Biopic or not, it is a good movie to watch. I give Christy 3.5 stars out of 4. I felt the ambition in this film much more than I did in other biopics like, say, A Complete Unknown from last year, and the performance of Sydney Sweeney was just fun to watch. This film doesn't come out until November 7th, but I'm glad I got to see it early, and I think people should see it when it does get its wide release. It's worth your time. And that is my review. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this, please like and subscribe. Here's links to my other videos. Follow me on social media if you like. And until next time, I am Ghost.